So we're going to start off there with question 2. So with question 2, write down the coordinates on the grid below. So a is going to be equal to -2 and 5. So a is going to be equal to -2 and 5. Obviously, your x value comes first. Your x value is -2. Your y value is +5. For b, your x value is going to be 4. Your y value is going to be +5. So we'll have 4, 5 for the next one. So 4, 5. For c, your x value is going to be 4. Your y value is going to be -3. Okay, so that's your coordinates labeled. Write down the coordinates of the midpoint AB. So write down the coordinates of the midpoint AB. So if this is AB, I would expect the midpoint to be there, okay, which is 1, 5. But how I'm going to find that is I'm going to use the formula just to be 100% sure. So the formula I'm talking about is the midpoint formula, and the midpoint formula you can see there is here. So add your 2 x's and divide by 2, add your 2 y's and divide by 2. Okay, so this is the midpoint formula. Okay, so let's put that in there. So the midpoint of AB, so I'm going to label my coordinate AB. I'll just put it up here. A being -2 and 5, and B being 4 and 5. We've got x1, y1, because they're both in the first coordinate, and x2, y2, because they're both in the second coordinate. The next thing I need to do is I need to use the formula. So x1 plus x2 all divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 all divided by 2. And that formula is given to in the log tables I showed you a second ago. So you'll have seen that in the log tables I showed you here. Okay, and you can see there that that formula is there. You can see that formula there for the midpoint. Okay, so we'll just fill that in. So instead of x1, I put in what the value of x1 is, and the value of x1 in this case is -2. So I can put in -2. Plus x2, the x2 value is 4, and divide by 2. Comma, the y1 value is going to be 5, and I'm going to add to that the y2 value, which is going to be 5, and divide that by 2. So that will give me 2 over 2, and it will give me 10 over 2. So my final answer there is going to be 1 and 5. So just before we go back and look at that, well, we look at it quickly. 1, 5 is going to be there. So that's what I thought it was going to be, and I've calculated it there, and that's what it actually is. So I'm on track, right? But before we go back, just to make sure that everyone's okay with the values there, so instead of x1, I put in -2. Plus, instead of x2, I put in 4. All divided by 2, comma, y1, which is going to be 5, plus, y2 is 5, all divided by 2. And then I just simplify it. -2 plus 4. If I owe the bank €2 and I lodge 4, then I'll have 2 left over in the bank, won't I? And similarly, 5 plus 5 is 10. So 2 divided by 2 gives you 1. 10 divided by 2 gives you 5. So that's the midpoint of AB, and I'm going to put that in there now. I put it in pink so it stands out. And that point there is 1 and 5. And that's the one I calculated. Okay. So the next one I'm going to look at is the midpoint of BC. Okay, so to get the midpoint of BC, B is equal to 4, 5. And C is equal to 4, -3. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to get the midpoint of those 2 points. if I'm getting the midpoint of BC, I would expect the midpoint of BC, if I was going to guess, I would say it would be about here. Because that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 down. And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4 up. So that would be correct. So the answer there is going to be 4, 1. Okay. But I'm just going to work it out using what I know of the formula. Okay. So the midpoint formula is staying the same. And I need to put in my x1, y1. Oh. So I need to put in the x1, y1, x1, y1, x2, y2, and I need to fill this in here. So x1 is going to be equal to 4 plus x2 is going to be equal to 4, all divided by 2, comma, y1 is going to be 5 plus y2 is going to be negative 3, all over 2. So that'll give me 8 over 2, comma, 2 over 2, and that'll give me 4, 1. Like I estimated, 4, 1. So that point there, I put it in pink as well, is going to be 4, 1. 4 on the x-axis, 1 on the y-axis. You can see that there. So 4, 1. So the last part of this question asks you to find the coordinates of D. So if A to B to C to D is a rectangle, I would be expecting that to be there. Okay, because that's the same distance across and the same x value there. So that would be -2, -3. So I'll fill that in there now. -2, -3, and that would be D, which would be D, which is -2, -3. So in the given grid, M is the midpoint of the line AB. M is the midpoint of the line AB. Use the grid to write down the coordinates of M, and the coordinates of M, I wrote them out there, are going to be 3, 4. No, they're not. They're going to be 4, 3. X value comes first, so it's going to be 4, 3. So I'll rub that out. I made a mistake, and that should say 4, 3. So 4, 3, because your X value always comes first, and your Y value comes second. Okay, so that's the first part done. The second part, is there another way to find the coordinates of M? And there is. We know the second part. So the midpoint formula is going to be x1 plus x2 all divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 all divided by 2. It's an easy formula to remember. All we're doing is adding our x's. Add your x's divided by 2. Add your y's divided by 2. So we're getting an average for the x's, an average for the y's. So let's put in our points. So A in this case is 1, 1. And B in this case was 7, 5. So let's label them x1, y1, x2, y2. And let's simply put in our values there. So instead of x1, I can write 1. Instead of x2, I can write 7. Instead of y1, I can write 1. Instead of y2, I can write 5. And that will give me 8 over 2, comma, 6 over 2. And that will give me an answer of 4, comma, 3. And funnily enough, that's the value that I had for my midpoint. So I worked out what the midpoint was. I calculated it using the formula, but I also read it off the grid, and you can see there that they are both the same, which I'd expect them to be. So if we look there at question 4, question 4 has 2 coordinates, and I want you to find the midpoint between them. 2 coordinates, and I want you to find the midpoint between them. 2 coordinates, I want you to find the midpoint between them. So for all of these questions, you just have to do each one of these out individually, and we're going to use the formula for these, okay? So the midpoint is going to be we'll have a quick look and see the formula that we're going to use is going to be x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So that is our formula. Anytime we're dealing with these, we always have to label our points. So we'll say 2, 1 and 4, 3, 2, 1 and 4, 3, 2, 1 and 4, 3, and we'll label them x1, y1. X coordinate, y coordinate, and they're both in the first coordinate, so that's x1, y1. Second one, x coordinate, y coordinate, and these are both in the second, so we label them both x2, y2. And now all we need to do is fill in the information that we have. Okay, so this is part 1. So x1 is going to be 2 plus 4 divided by 2, comma y1 is going to be 1 plus y2, which is 3 divided by 2. Add them together, we get 6 divided by 2, and we get 4 divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 leaves us with 3, 4 divided by 2 leaves us with 2. So the coordinate there, the midpoint of those 2 points, so if I was to get the midpoint between those 2 lines, or between those 2 points, my answer would be 3, 2. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes there to try the next few, right? So I'm going to do question 2 there now. So 1, 1 and 5, 5. So again, we have to label this. We've got an x coordinate, we've got a y coordinate. These are both in the first coordinate, so I call them x1, y1. We've got an x coordinate, we've got a y coordinate, and these are both in the second, so I'm going to call them x2, y2. Now all I'm going to do is fill in the information that I have. So I start there by opening my bracket. I've got x1, which in this case is 1, plus x2, which in this case is 5, all divided by 2. I've got y1, which in this case is 1, plus y2, which in this case is 5, all divided by 2. And that's going to give me 6 over 2 and 6 over 2. So that's going to give me 3, 3. The coordinate between those 2 points will be 3, 3. Sorry, just tidying that up. The coordinate between those 2 points will be 3, 3. So part 3 there is the midpoint between the point 1, 3 and 3, 5. So 1, 3 and 3, 5, and we just put them in there. You can see you've got your x coordinate, you've got your y coordinate. They're both in the first coordinates. I'm going to label them x1, y1. You've got your x coordinate, you've got your y coordinate. They're both in the second coordinate, so I'm labeling that x2, y2. Okay. We'll just fill in the information from here. So x1 is going to be 1 plus x2, which is going to be 3, all divided by 2, comma y1 is going to be 3 plus y2, which is going to be 5, all divided by 2. And you can see exactly where those values come from. x1 is 1, x2 is 3, y1 is 3, y2 is 5. Okay, tidy that up. 4 over 2, comma 8 over 2, because when we add them, we get 4. When we add them, we get 8. 4 divided by 2 gives us 2. 8 divided by 2 gives us 4. So you can see there, that's my answer for part 3. And there we have that. So that's 3 questions done together. First 3. I'll get you to try the next few because especially the last one there has negatives in it. So it's good for you to practice them.